Good day and welcome to Alena Media TV. We are broadcasting from Toronto, Canada. I am Elsa Abraham, and in this episode we are bringing you editorial. Trauma, anger as Tigrayans recount Eritrea troops' grave crimes. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get our editorial in details. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break now. Survivors and witnesses in Ethiopia's embattled region tell Al Jazeera how civilians were raped and killed by troops from neighboring country. People mourn the victims of a massacre allegedly perpetrated by Eritrean soldiers in the village of Dengolat, north of Mekelle. Mekelle, Ethiopia, on the 4th of December is a date that fills Mona Lisa Abraha with horror. It was then, the 18-year-old days, that Eritrean soldiers entered her village of Tembin in Ethiopia's embattled region of Tigray. They tried to rape me and I was thrown to the ground. Then, one of the soldiers fired bullets to scare me, but they hit my hand and then fired another bullet that went through my arm. Abraha recalls from a hospital bed on the outskirts of Tigray's capital, Mekelle. I was bleeding for hours. Then I had my arm amputated, she said. Before breaking down in tears, Abraha accounts as one of the few emerging from the secretive conflict in Tigray, where communications were cut for many weeks and media access was severely curbed before being slightly eased recently. Al Jazeera has now gained rare access and heard from witnesses and survivors who allege they suffered grave abuses at the hands of Eritrean troops. After months of tensions, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in early November ordered an air and ground offensive in Tigray to remove the region's governing party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the TPLF, following attacks on federal army camps. The TPLF, which dominated Ethiopian politics for decades until Abiy came to power in 2018, had presided over a brutal 1998 to 2000 war with Eritrea. Witnesses, survivors, and residents told Al Jazeera that forces from Eritrea committed egregious crimes after entering Tigray to support the Ethiopian military against their longtime foe. Some girls and I managed to leave the village, but on the road we were caught by Eritrean soldiers. Saba, a displaced woman from Mai Kadra, told Al Jazeera. More than 10 soldiers took turns of raping us. My husband was killed in our village. Another displaced woman from Mai Kadra said, blaming Eritrean troops before pleading, "Tell the world we are dying." Mai Kadra in western Tigray was also where an estimated 600 civilians were killed in a November 9th massacre blamed on a Tigrayan youth group, as well as local police and militia men. Eritrea and Ethiopia have denied that Eritrean troops took part in a conflict that is believed to have killed thousands of people, displaced hundreds of thousands, and sparked major shortages of food, water, and medicine. Witnesses, however, have estimated that Eritrean soldiers numbered in the thousands, while Al Jazeera has obtained images showing trucks from Eritrean license plates in Tigray carrying soldiers. Top members of the state-appointed interim government in Tigray have also acknowledged the presence of Eritrean troops and accusations of looting and killing. The TPLF attacked the federal government's army in the Tigray region, which is what exposed their location and led the Eritrean forces to enter. Mulu Nega, temporary governor of the Tigray region, told Al Jazeera, "It happened against our will." Last week, Amnesty International said in a report that hundreds of civilians were massacred by Eritrean soldiers in the town of Axum in November, amounting to a series of human rights and humanitarian law violations. The massacre was committed in a coordinated and a systematic manner in order to terrorize the population into submission and may amount to a crime against humanity, the report said. Its findings were based on 41 interviews with witnesses and survivors of the massacre, all ethnic Tigrayans. Jean-Baptiste Galopin, author of the report, told Al Jazeera that the Eritrean forces called for reinforcement and proceeded to shoot at civilians on the streets using sniper rifles and machine guns. Axum residents quoted in the Amnesty report identified that the perpetrators are Eritrean soldiers, saying that they often rode in trucks with license plates reading Eritrea. Witnesses said most wore a uniform and shoes easily distinguishable from those of Ethiopian soldiers. They remarked that the troops distinguished themselves as Eritreans when they spoke in a distinctive dialect with its own words and accent. Some soldiers had 3 scars on each temple near the eye, identifying themselves as Beni Amir, an ethnic group that straddles Sudan and Eritrea but is absent from Ethiopia, the report said. Ethiopia's government has questioned the accuracy of Amnesty's sources but says an investigation will be launched. The state-appointed Ethiopian Human Rights Commission also said that Amnesty's report should be taken seriously and that preliminary investigations indicate that Eritrean soldiers had killed an unknown number of civilians in Axum. But in a letter to Al Jazeera, Ethiopia's ambassador to Qatar, Samia Zekaria Getu, told the Amnesty report was cooked. This kind of reports based on unreliable sources is known to have the risk of further reinforcing the misinformation and propaganda by the TPLF, the criminal clique, Gutu wrote. Eritrea's information minister, Yemane Meskel, rejected Amnesty's preposterous accusations. Abiy, who in 2019 won the Nobel Peace Prize after restoring ties with Eritrea following the 1998 to 2000 war, declared victory against the TPLF on November 28th after federal forces entered Mekelle. The TPLF's leaders, however, have pledged to continue fighting and clashes have persisted in the region, hampering efforts to deliver much-needed humanitarian aid. Last month, the United States said all soldiers from Eritrea should leave the Tigray region immediately. Meanwhile, Mekelle residents that spoke to Al Jazeera demanded Eritrean forces leave the country. Why did all this happen? The Eritrean forces committed grave crimes. We want everyone who committed these crimes to be put in trial and want foreign forces to leave our homeland, said Lo Malas, a trader. Kibram Zhao, an engineer, added, "Our infrastructure is destroyed and basic services are absent. There's no safety and we want the world to know our struggle." This is where we end today's episode on editorial. Make sure you like, share, comment. Let us know your thoughts on this particular episode. Thanks for watching.